Summons are a very unexplored part of Baldur's Gate. Sure, if you're a wizard, you might throw down the occasional conjure minor elemental, and scratch is always a nice freebie to summon. But what if you could only do damage with these? Is it possible to beat Baldur's Gate 3 by using only summons? Quickly, the rules. To make things a bit more spicy, I will be playing on Honor Mode Lone Wolf, meaning that I am only allowed to fight using one main character. However, I am no sadist. At least not enough to let tens of hours go to waste on something dumb like this. So despite the enemies having legendary actions, I will still allow myself to reload saves if I ever die. Of course, any summons or temporary allies that are next to my portrait will be allowed. I will also disallow myself from doing any damage with my character at all. No matter if it's directly attacking or indirectly damaging foes, all the damage will have to come from the summons themselves. Although I will still allow myself to use heals and disables that don't do any damage. Alright, with that out of the way, let's begin. We start off as Will, for reasons that won't become clear until late in Act 2, but just trust me on this, it's very necessary. Since Will always starts as a Warlock, we will have to make do with what we have until we can respec. The only summons Warlocks get access to at level 1 are the cantrips Mage Hand and Minor Illusion. Minor Illusion can't even be used offensively in combat, and Mage Hand is, well, to put it politely, not exactly a powerhouse. With 3 HP and a 1 damage punch, the only real thing it can do is throw very light enemies for some very underwhelming but still extremely important damage. As for spells, since we cannot deal any damage ourselves, we can't even pick Armor of Agathis, and our only real lockdown option at level 1 is Command. This sure is going to be fun. Luckily for us, it almost seems like the developers had this stupid run in mind, as after waking up and taking 10 steps into the next room, we encounter this sentient brain. By passing a check, prying it from the skull, and very importantly deciding not to mutilate it, we get our very first summon in the form of Us. Us has an impressive 27 HP and can easily solo the entire first fight with his 4 to 10 damage claw attack. Lae'zel takes her leave as per usual, and we free Shadowheart, who does the same. Approaching the helm, Us keeps destroying everyone, and I importantly land the one and only command drop we get access to. This allows the Mind Flayer to survive long enough for Us and the Mage Hand to deal with the rest. After getting this very seductive look from a Mind Flayer, we decide to peace out. Waking up, I straight away head to our camp and collect the pack containing a Hill Giant Strength Potion, letting us set our strength to 21 until our next long rest. This will, in combination with the human's carry weight based trait, allow us to collect the various corpses spread across the beach for later use. I sneak past the 2 Intellect Devourers as we are in dire need of stronger summons, and speak to Asterion for our very first level up. Level 2 Warlock really doesn't give us anything, so I go for a level of Wizard, which will at the very least give us access to some more useful spells in the form of Sleep, Tasha's Laughter, but most importantly, Find Familiar. Find Familiar allows us to pick between 6 small critters who all do something different. And for pure damage output, we go for the Crab, for its 2 to 5 damage pinch attack. That also leaves the target with a debuff that will do an extra 2 damage at the start of their turn. Definitely way more prepared, I decide to head back and kill the Intellect Devourers. And so the time has finally come for our Mage Hand to prove its worth. I sneak up and start the fight by chucking one straight into the fire. After that, I fly up here to get out of their line of sight, and so all they can do is dash after us. This allows our Mage Hand to throw them right down again, turn after turn after turn, until the remaining one is low enough for our crab friend to take him out. We kill a dying Mind Flayer needing 2 attacks. I've never even seen the animation of it not dying immediately. And stupidly enough, leave Gale to die as I watch my hopes of the perfect summons only run whittle away. The reasons why I should have brought Gale with me will also become apparent in Act 2, but there is an item there that can only be made using him. Maybe I'll just sneakily console command it in when we get there, or maybe I won't. I'll let you guys decide on that. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, why not subscribe? You can always just unsubscribe later. Somehow we are already at 17,000. That is absolutely insane. Thank you all so much. Anyways, back to the video. We get some free XP from a few raiders and head over to the first grove fight. Here, we are basically completely useless. We can only cast a few commands, and our Mage Hand can't even throw the goblins as they are already too heavy. So then what's the strategy here? All we can really do is just run, as the goblins kill the humans and our summons. Cowering over here in this corner, we watch on as Sevlor single-handedly kills them all. With that done, we enter the grove and head over to Volo, who sells us the Whispering Promise, a very nice ring that gives any creature we heal a free bless for 2 turns. I grab the parasite from this dead Absolute worshipper before encountering the dog Scratch. By succeeding a roll and giving him the sent to our camp, we will later be able to summon him as an alternate familiar. The Mask of the Shapeshifter lets us transform into a drow and bully our way through some goblins for level 3, all the way over to the goblin camp. Because we got Shadowheart killed before she could even give us the artifact, we get a free long rest here, before continuing into the camp, where we get branded and battered a little. With this done, Withers appears in our camp, finally letting us respec away from this useless Warlock class and into Ranger. Ranger not only grants us heavy armor proficiency, defense, and Longstrider, but also the Beastmaster subclass for our very own companion. At level 3, the only real option is the Bear, as it is by far the most tanky, also having the highest damage output. The companions also get the free damage bonus from Hunter's Mark, letting them hit quite hard, and it just so happens that Damon sells us a bow with the free Hunter's Mark. Heading back into the Blighted Village, we go down this wooden hatch and collect the Summon Quasit scroll. Just for the moment, I take a level in Wizard and importantly use the scroll instead of learning it to summon Shovel. We tell it that we are going to do some pillaging and murdering, which to be fair is the truth, and enter this door. After which we permanently get the Find Familiar Cheeky Quasit. Shovel is a familiar, and so will override any other one we may have. He or she is easily the best familiar in the game though, so it's nothing to be sad about. Not only does it have a free 2-turn fear, each short rest, and a not bad at all 4 to 7 damage claw attack, it also has a free permanent invisibility. This is absolutely insane, letting us start basically every single fight by surprising the enemies. The surprise condition does not let them act or move at all, basically giving us a free 1-turn stun on every enemy. Before leaving, we also make sure to pick up the Necromancy of Thay, which will give us access to a nice saving throw buff and one of the game's strongest summon spells later down the line. We cannot get Volo's Magical Eye since, as will, we already miss one, and so we continue on to the Risen Road where we enter this shed. Down the hatch and behind this locked door, we find the Abyss Beckoners, which will give all our summons permanent damage reduction to everything, apart from psychic damage, at the cost of having them go mad sometimes at the start of their turn. Thankfully, this is an aura, so it can be toggled on and off as we see fit. With these upgrades, we head into the Warg Pens to free Helsen and murder a few children before they have any chance to get help. This fight has some very hard hitters, so I turn on the Mad Aura, which sadly backfires as Helsen kills my own bear. But he makes up for it by winning the fight all by himself. We have Shovel move this box to grab the attention of the Ogre, letting me sneakily grab it before escaping for the Amulet of Misty Step. With that, we head into the Underdark, the easiest area of the game for a summons only run. I start by collecting Falar Aluv, a weapon that has the Shriek effect, for a free 1d4 thunder damage on all attacks on enemies in its AoE. I get the Boots of Speed from this dying gnome, and buy the Amulet of Restoration, which, in combination with a ring, lets us bless our entire party at will. Now for the reasons the Underdark is so easy. Glut. Apart from being an absolute beast himself, with 57 HP and a base 6 to 26 damage attack, he also has the Animate Spores ability, letting him resurrect any one creature that we may come across. I get body slammed by a bullet before surprising Finro and a hook horror. Of course, it's not enough to simply murder and humiliate me, as it returns, merging the fight with the other unsuspecting hook horrors. I manage to kill Finro before he gets a turn and get enough XP for level 4. To be fair to the bullet, it does a fair bit of damage before running, but now we are stuck fighting 4 hook horrors at once. By blessing everyone and focusing one, I managed to take it down and reanimate it with Glut just in time for both Shovel and Ursa to die. The hook horrors have Pounce, an ability that lets them prone enemies, allowing them to use multi-strike. And it just so happens that this fits perfectly with Glut, who also has multi-strike. With these combined, we trade multi-strikes with the remaining hook horrors, barely coming out victorious. Since we're going to be running around with Glot, we do not really need our bear friend, so with level 4, we respec over to Cleric for more heals with the life domain. Sanctuary, the best defensive spell in the game, can also be picked up here, alongside Spiritual Weapon, a pretty decent summon. The last level is put into Wizard, which lets us learn the Flaming Sphere spell. With our newfound power spike, we head over and take on the Minotaurs. And of course, Bolette joins the party. They really stand no chance against the various multi-strikes we have now, and the only one trying to ruin the party is Bolette. Minotaurs are basically just a better version of hook horrors, so I grab one of those instead. Jumping around Dwergar, we encounter Bolette for the final showdown. After a lot of proning turns and stunning him, we manage to bring it down, giving us the strongest summon in the game. Its bite does a whopping 8 to 52 damage, and it also has an ability that only requires movement called Deadly Leap, letting it do some insane damage. With this newfound absolute beast, we take out the turrets guarding the Arcane Tower and approach Bernard. Like a lot of you pointed out, I use a Susser Flower to incapacitate the animated armors before starting the fight. Bolette almost takes out Bernard right away. Glot gets wounded really bad though, and I cannot let him die as that would kill our killing machine. In trying to heal him, I stand a bit too close and get absolutely destroyed. Second attempt goes better as I halt Bernard, letting Bolette finish the job. In the basement, we find a lightning resistance ring and a staff of arcane blessing, giving anything we bless a lingering 10-turn bless effect that lasts even if we start concentrating on something else. We collect survival instincts from Umlum and cheese the spectator fight with Shovel. During our next long rest, Scratch finally brings us his ball, giving us the ability to summon him. Now Scratch is strictly worse than Shovel, but we can always just summon him in combat if Shovel were to die. I failed to save this dwarf. At least we get 2 Misty Step Scrolls out of it. And it's time to finally do what Glot wanted us to do all along and take out the Dwergar guarding the ship. This fight isn't a problem either. I just cast Sanctuary on Glot and myself and let Bolette solo the entire fight. This guy is way too strong, man. After the fight comes a slight problem. Glot asks for our help in killing Spa, and we cannot really deny him, as that would make us have to fight not only him, who already is too strong to handle, but also the Bolette. So for the first time ever, I side with him, and we are off to kill Spa. It's actually a pretty cool fight that I've never done before, but it turns into yet another Bolette show, as me and Glot just watch on while it slaughters the entire colony. With that, the Underdark is completed. I head over and get the horn from Lump, before pickpocketing Sevlor, getting a pair of gloves I should have had a long time ago. Since the Abyss Beckoners are a bit too risky to use, we can instead give our allies free Blade Ward anytime we heal them. We head back into the Goblin camp, follow Glot to a secluded area, and drink a very unsuspicious potion. Waking up, we simply wait, and Corilla takes care of the problem for us. I use the Parasite for Shield of Thralls and jump down to the trapped spiders, ushering them towards the goblins. After that, I go get Halsin from the pens and immediately get into a fight. Failing to kill this goblin, it calls for reinforcements, dragging Minthara and a bunch of other goblins into the fight. I summon our spiritual weapon and flaming sphere, but completely forget that it requires concentration and try to use heroism on it. I'm so fucking bad at this game, holy shit. I do have another one though, so it is fine. Minthara seems keen to not attack for some reason, as she wastes 3 turns on blessing and healing her allies. Using survival instincts on the spiritual weapon seems to bug the game out completely, as after its death, instead of resurrecting, it just remains there, soaking up more damage. Minthara finally starts hitting, knocking Halsin out of his bear form, which is absolutely perfect as he has Thunder Wave, allowing him to take out a warg and a goblin before transforming back. We knock out Minthara the turn after, and our spiritual weapon finally dies. She has a very nice pair of boots that prevents us from getting knocked around or prone while concentrating, which basically will be always. I start the final fight with the goblins and let the spiders out. Dragslin still needs to die, so I decide to merge the fight using Shovel. And after a lot of goblin slaughtering, Dragslin manages to make his way over to us. Not that big of a deal though, as he promptly gets held personed and beaten to death. This fight gives us level 5, and thereby access to Animate Dead, which by all means isn't weak. It lets us either spawn a zombie that can summon even more over the course of a fight, or, very importantly, a ranged skeleton. This is our first and only ranged summon so far. We go back to the hideout where we got the gloves, and use our fire sphere to blow it all up. Before respeccing back to Beastmaster. At level 5, all our companions get an upgrade. They're all quite good, but the boar is the one we're gonna be using. It gets an exact copy of Barbarian's Rage every single fight, and this also lets it attack using a bonus action, basically doubling its damage. We use our newfound boar friend to murder the paladins that are after Karlach. Finally, some decent damage numbers. And decide to help her, as the body armor we would get doesn't actually help us in any way. Besides, who would miss out on the opportunity of some cool horns? Heading over to the Grimforge, we collect a mithril ore and activate the forge, before teleporting away. Time to take your advice and Omega Cheese Grim. I use Enemy Dead for the skeleton and walk over to this spot. Using the skeleton to shoot the valve, I activate the hardest fight in all of Act 1. Not only does Grim do some insane damage, but he also gets a casual 10 temporary hit points for 1 turn anytime he is hit. But since we're standing up here, there's actually nothing he can do to touch us. So we can just slowly, and I mean extremely slowly, whittle down his health bar, shooting the valve anytime the lava disappears. You know, it only takes us casual 40 minutes and 405 rounds. Jesus Christ, why do I do this to myself? In any case, he's dead now, thankfully, and we get the adamantine splint armor and the Grim Skull helmet, which we can equip thanks to the ranger proficiency. I convince some Dwergar to fight for me and head over to take on Nier. This fight becomes really easy since we just have so many allies, even with them trying to sabotage us as much as they can. The Mindmasters go down without being able to control more than 1 Dwergar, and so does Nier, albeit after a few annoying procs from his legendary action. And so we bring Nier's head back to the Glut and finish off his questline. I ambush the quote-unquote sheep outside Ethel's house, who don't stand a chance against our bloodthirsty boar. Revealing Ethel's real form, we follow her down her basement and get level 6. Now is the time to go for the subclass you may have thought obvious to go for right away, Necromancer. The reason we don't take it earlier is because the level 2 effect really sucks when you cannot do any damage yourself. But the level 6 buff, now this is strong. It lets our Animate Dead raise an additional corpse and gives them all additional hit points and damage. I give them all Longsider and shields before heading over to this spot here. Right next to the Guidance Amulet, we find a crevice containing a bag. In the bag is a spider egg sac that can be thrown to summon 5 one-time use crag spiders. Using aid from another character, we can get their HP all the way up to 17 and our skeletons all the way up to 35. I very painstakingly bring them all down to Ethel one by one, free Mayrina with invisibility, and use our Minstra's Blessing before starting the fight. Ethel has a legendary action that lets her spawn more copies of herself whenever a spell is cast in her presence. This range seems to be very small though, as we are free to cast Flaming Sphere here. Our skeletons, Shovel and Fireball, take out a few copies, as Shield protects us from the other's Ray of Sickness. With Ethel's copies dead, we lay into her with our skeletons, and she wastes a turn transforming into Mayrina, letting us do even more damage. At half HP, she goes invisible, but we can easily find her and bring her down low enough to end this fight. I take the +1 to Wisdom, as we mainly will be using Druid later on, and pick up Bitter Divorce from her workshop. By resurrecting Mayrina's husband and keeping the wand for ourselves, it lets us, using an action, summon Connor for 10 turns anytime we want. He does a decent amount of damage and always comes with Undead Fortitude, preventing him from dying the first time he's reduced to 0 HP. The arguably other hardest fight in Act 1 is still ahead of us, the Githyanki guarding the mountain pass. I initiate the fight with Shovel and summon Connor and then upcasted Flaming Sphere without entering combat, also allowing me to call for Lump and his gang. After shooting a few arrows into them, the gifts show why they are so rough to fight, as they do some insane damage to Lump and his friends and hold person me. Thankfully, one of them runs into a bunch of opportunity attacks, but the leader, Sarth, single-handedly murders Lump and his crew. I manage to take out the remaining gift, and Sarth is dumb enough to run back and fight Connor, perishing the turn after. Lastly, it is time for the Spider Matriarch. Using one of the skeletons, I destroyed the majority of our eggs and use Feather Falling and Enhanced Leap to go after the last ones. Shovel succeeds in not getting spotted, surprising the spider whilst the matriarch is over her web. This lets me shoot down the web, dealing a nice 37 damage to her without even engaging in combat. And so instead, I engage by killing the smaller spiders, and her legendary action just hits a wall. I successfully land a stage fright, making her miss me, and conveniently stand over another web. The matriarch saves a fear, and finally manages to hit me, but it's too little too late as our skeletons finishes her. Right next to her, we find a dark amethyst, which we insert into the necromancy of Thay. Reading this book, we fail a saving throw, which curses us with disadvantage on wisdom checks, easily removed with remove curse, but also gives us the forbidden knowledge buff for a free +1 to ability checks and wisdom saving throws. And with that, we are officially done with Act 1. The mountain pass and Act 2 awaits. Thanks for making it through another one. I'm recording this quite late today, if you're wondering why I sound so tired. I got kinda tired of the Zero AC run also, so if you're wondering where Act 3 of that went, it's coming soon, so if you haven't seen that yet, you can check it out. Of course, I will also continue this one. This one was actually very, very fun to make, apart from the grim part, that was fucking painful. And also just wanted to thank you all so much for the support. Like I said, 17,000 subs already, it's absolutely insane. You guys are so awesome. Anyways, I'm blabbering on again, sorry. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.